What's up and welcome back to the Kinda Funny Gamescast for Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by Greg Miller.
Hello, Timothy. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have this one-on-one Gamescast with you.
I love it. It's always a treat, you know?
Yeah, we've been talking to, more we should do, more, not like you and me, but like in general, we should do more one-on-one Gamescast because there's such great conversations.
Yeah, getting to the nut of the situation.
Ooh, I don't like
you know
that.
what I mean?
No, I know what you mean.
I'm a big fan of your nut, Greg.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Here you are with your Nintendo Switch.
I'm out there ready to go.
A month in.
My little profile there. It looks like me, but it's Benny. That's my character, Benny.
Oh, okay.
And, Pokemon
you think
Violet.
Ben's going to end up needing glasses? Do you think he's going to want glasses?
He's got, he's going to want them. Mom and Dad got them. He already loves his sunglasses so much. Sometimes he can't leave the house. He's like, Sunnies, I want my Sunnies.
I didn't put that together. I mean, obviously, I do think of you with glasses, obviously. I think of Jen with glasses, obviously. But I didn't think about Ben until this moment.
I mean, Jen's eyes are really bad. So it's like one of those I'd imagine that'll come over. Maybe my American amazing genes will dominate and give the freedom to the Canadian genes to have better eyesight. Because again, mine aren't bad. I can still see that too on the camera, no problem.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I can read the chat, no problem. It's back there. It's a little hazy.
Not
even hazy, but
yeah, it's more of a fashion type situation.
No, I mean,
I can't go without the glasses.
I do need. Oh no!
Yeah.
I would never take them off. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that part. You know what I mean? But no, I need them, but I could get by without them.
My friend Danny had glasses in middle school and half of high school.
Yeah.
And then he got contacts after that and like has never worn glasses since.
Okay.
Except like sometimes at like sleepover
situations.
Of course.
Like, we all know that when you wake up.
But like he still looks wrong to me.
Oh, yeah.
To this day.
Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that for 100%.
Oh, it's tough out there. This is the Kinda Funny Gamescast, everybody. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on Twitch, YouTube, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts to get all of our shows ad-free and a daily exclusive Greg Way for a chance to be part of this show. Submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube super chats as we go. A little housekeeping for you. We are an 11-person business all about live talk shows. Kinda Funny Games Daily was Bless and Andy absolutely crushing it, talking about Outriders 2. And then after this, it is Superman in review. We're doing Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. I heard it was bad. Didn't expect this. Didn't expect this, Greg. It's going to be a good in review. And then following that, it's going to be a Peak stream. A lot of people talk about this game Peak. It's a big deal. We got a couple all-stars on this one. I forget who.
It's
but
me.
Greg's on it.
It's Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bless is on it. Maybe Andy.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
What a great crew.
Yeah, that's right. Nick, Andy, Bless, and Greg.
Roger and Mike taking the day off after
they freaked it.
The absolute insane marathon stream they did,
you see me
for Death Stranding 2. You freaked it like no one else, man.
I was out there. I was running in my little shorts during the day.
Running.
Came back in the night and scared him.
Yeah? I didn't see that yet.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Kevin, can we pull that up?
If you're a Kinda Funny member, today's Greg Way is going to be a good one. He's bursting at the seams to talk on Gamescast, so we recorded a tiny Greg Way part 1, and he's going to come back for part 2 in the afternoon.
I started up on the Greg Way this morning, and it was that thing where, Kevin, I'm tossing just into gear. That's not good. Hold on. We have too many things. I'm going to toss it into
Can you put in assets, please?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to it. Whenever I need assets in a pinch, I can't find it. You know what I mean? It's a weird thing where I just got to pin it all to itself.
Later today, I'm going to watch F1, which is incredibly exciting to me. Because it's from the director of Top Gun Maverick, my favorite movie of all time.
Tom Cruise.
Hans Zimmer did the score.
Here we go.
A new Hans Zimmer score. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it in 40X. This is about to rock my fucking world, Greg.
Okay, speaking of rocking world, before you hit play, Kev, this is them streaming about 10 o'clock last night. I finished Jurassic World Rebirth, and immediately came here. And when I pulled in the parking lot, I put into the chat, hey, everybody, I'm going to bed. Have a great stream, guys. Let it play.
Crazy. You want some ribs? Man, I need another knife. I appreciate you getting yourself a knife.
Here, use mine. I already cut mine.
Oh, yeah. It took you 2 seconds.
There's only one knife in there besides butter knives, so that's what we get. Oh, my God.
No!
Oh, my God.
You didn't know 6 ounces is a tiny steak? You ordered 12 ounces and 18 ounces. 6 ounces? Is it Wagyu beef? Is it Wagyu?
Make some room. He's coming to dinner.
That's awesome.
That was a good time. That was a good time last night. It goes a little bit more, and he describes it as a CM Punk pop. I appreciate that. Yeah, so then I freaked it with them till about midnight. Yeah, made sure I cranked it up on them. You know what I mean? They were winding down. I put some hours on that clock and I left.
This is almost a rhetorical question, but did they order Outback?
And Chili's.
They ordered Outback, and that sounds fucking crazy.
They kind of did to their credit, I believe if you look at the subreddit, there's a little thing where I think the vote almost was 50-50 between Chili's and Outback, so they split the difference.
Why not both?
And then but it also to me kind of felt like, when a prisoner gets their last meal, that they were like, we want to go big.
Yeah.
But then Mike doesn't understand that 6 ounces isn't big. And so he was very offended when the steak arrived and it was
tiniest
small.
little thing ever.
A medallion,
if you will.
We love
my
steak
God, everybody. If you're a Kind of Funny member, today's Greg Way. I already said that. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney, the Psalm, Twining. We're adding that?
Apparently, that's what he put in this month.
Awesome. Sick.
New month, new producers, but it's still Delaney, the Psalm, Twining. And I mean sommelier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you're at the wine. Right, okay.
Or John Wick with the guns. Carl Jacobs and Omega Buster. Today, we're brought to you by Cash App and Mood, but we'll tell you all about that later. For now, let's start with the topic of the show.
Tots.
Greg, this episode was scheduled to be the Expedition 33 Greg Miller review.
That's right, Tim.
This game is my current game of the year.
Yep.
I forgot who was on the original review. I think Andy was there and a couple other people. And then we liked it so much that Blessing and I then reviewed it later.
Right.
And then we're like, all right, Greg's now playing. Greg's going to review it. That was going to be the headline today. But then something changed.
Yeah.
What's going on, Greg? What's going on with you?
Before we go any further, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, we need to have a heart-to-heart, and that's what we're having right here on camera, you and me on the one-on-one. If you're an audio listener, I hope it feels intimate as I talk to you. I need you to understand that I am being as vulnerable as possible. I need you to understand that even though I'm still going to be entertaining on this podcast, I'm probably the funniest guy you know, I'm not doing a bit, and I also need you to know I'm not trying to make you angry. I need you to know that I am wrong. I am the one who is broken. I am sitting in the cone of shame already. But we need to have a conversation. And Tim, this is something you and I take very seriously.
Very seriously. To the point that we rarely have meetings about specific episodes of shows. Broad meetings about like planning and like all that stuff, sure. But like a conversation of how do we handle this? How do we handle my feelings about something? How do we make sure that we are as quote unquote professional as we can be, being Kind of Funny Games, being Greg Miller, being the people that we are, right? This is one of the rare times where you pulled me into the conference room yesterday and you're like, Tim, I need to talk this out with you because this is serious. This is not a bit. This is not a joke. Like there needs to be a real conversation about my feelings with certain types of video games.
And that's really what it comes down to, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs. Again, we are not doing characters. We're not doing a bit. We're being vulnerable. You're going to be supportive of me here. You're not going to be mean to be mean. I'm wrong. I think one of the things we discussed in the meeting room was, what do we headline this show? Because I think it's time for me just to retire from turn-based RPGs, except Pokemon. That's the problem. And I know, go wide. It's not a bit. I'm not doing a character. I'm not doing a bit. I'm not doing a character.
That's what this episode's going to be. You're going to talk it out.
We are going to be
me and with them.
We are going to be cathartic. We are going to hang out together and have a conversation about what I should do here. Okay, what I should do here. Because Expedition is your game of the year. It's so many people's game of the year. I hear about it all the time.
I need to say this quickly.
Please.
No spoilers for Expedition 33.
Yeah, I think
I feel like that's
fine. Can we? Is it a spoiler to say that there's a twist?
Just keep it there. Let's end there. Let's end there.
Because it's key to this story. Where Expedition dropped, I did the preview of it alongside a bunch of different people when we got our preview code. I was like, oh man, like the active battling, the dodging, I really like that. Maybe that'll, diffuse some of my criticisms of turn-based games. I'll come back to this. When it came out, I went back to it, but it was in between reviews. I couldn't give it the time it needed, yada, yada, yada. And it became that classic Gregism of, I'll get to this later. I'll go play the other games I need to for review, and I'll get back to this. Almost with a wink and a nod, right, that I'll do it, but will I ever? Because there's always a new thing to review. You get to Death Stranding 2, review that. That's out, and it's like, cool. What's next? And there's this moment here. There's this moment of, okay, wait a second. I don't need to run to another review necessarily. I have Expedition. I want to finish Pokemon. I want to finish Link's Awakening, which I had started and got deep into at Switch 2 launch. And it's the thing, okay, Bonanza is really the next big thing I think on the horizon. So I have a chance here to do an indie game, do this. And I'm like, no, this is the moment. Let's go all in on Expedition, right? I've got it on the Xbox. I've got it on the ROG. I'm ready to send the save back and forth. I'm ready to do the goddamn thing. And so, yeah, what had happened here is this week, obviously, or last week, I guess now technically, but at Memorial Day, when Auntie Luce came over and we went to the parade and we did the whole shebang, we were out back having a glass of wine, and she said something about Expedition. I'm like, oh, I hear it's great. Or whatever. She's like, you haven't played it? And I'm like, no. She's like, oh, you would love it, as everyone has said about the story. You're going to love you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not a big turn-based. She's like, it's not. And then it was that there's this twist. And I was like, I don't want to know. I know I need to play it for Game of the Year consideration. I know I need to do all these different things. I know how good it is. I'm wrong, everybody. I'm like, so I covered my ears. She told Jen. Jen tapped me on the shoulder. I took my hand, and she's like, you got to play this game. I'm like, I know. You got to let me go downstairs more often. So I do it, and I start it, and I'm giving it the full college effort, and I'm doing the whole thing, and I'm doing it, and I know I got to get to, but like, I think it was Thursday night last week, where I text you and I'm like, how much, I'm here. I know that I'm coming up, but how close am I? And you're like, you're pretty much there. Blah, blah. I get through the twist. I get through the thing, and I played all Friday at my desk or whatever. And then I just put the controller down. I'm like, I can't do this. And again, it's not Expedition's problem. This is a reality we need to look at. I'm Greg Miller, and this isn't a character. I'm Greg Miller, and I've reviewed games for 18 years professionally. And at IGN, especially when I started, it was you played everything. You got assigned reviews. It didn't matter if it was your genre. It didn't matter if you did the damn thing, blah, 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 blah. And that was fine, not great. Obviously, a lot of games I reviewed, I didn't have any business reviewing. And over time, though, that evolves and changes. And then we just did this question on Greg Way, my gaming era. What am I in? And it is that thing of, oh, yeah, well, tastes change and go and all these different things. And I'm very much struggling with the reality, sitting there with Expedition 33, of I was the Persona 3 guy. I was the Persona 4 Golden guy, right? Like I reviewed,
at IGN.
At IGN, yeah, of course. I've had that much history and lineage to it. But then you go and you look at, this is one of those things I know a lot of people want to throw at me all the time. Well, you're a dad now. You're blah, blah. It's not a Ben thing. Because if this isn't a new thing. Persona 5 and Persona 5, what's his face? The Royal. Couldn't finish him. Got to the same boss and it was like, I'm done. Sea of Stars. Having a great time. Garl, my boy or whatever, right? Eventually I'm just like, I'm done. Metaphor, Refantasio. Almost the mirror image of what we're talking about with Clair, Obscur, Expedition 33. I played it. I can respect it. I like it. I'm like, I don't want to do this for 100 hours. And I even toss on here with it was heartbreaking to write. Octopath 1 and 2. Games I'm very vocal about because I want to say I put 40 hours into each on Switch. That might be, we'll say between 25 and 40 for each of them, right? Enjoyed the shit out of them, but eventually I put it down because I'm just on to the next thing, or it wasn't, I don't know what to do about turn-based RPGs with the exception of Pokemon. Because this was my thing on Friday where I'm like, okay, I am ramming my head into the wall over and over again with this. And I saw somebody shout out early on when I was doing this. And again, thank you so much for, I haven't looked at the chat once, but thank you for giving me the grace here. This is a safe spot. We're hanging out. It's the Gamescast with the Kind of Funny Best Friends. I'm not doing a character. We're having a real conversation about gaming taste.
Everyone's being great.
Thank you. So anyway, somebody in the chat early on, when I immediately said I wasn't, Greg can't dodge. It's not a dodging thing. It's not a dodging thing at all. It is literally like, I just don't like turn-based stuff. I find myself getting bored. I want to open my phone. I want to do something. I'm not engaged with it, which then ruins the product around it, I feel. For me, not that particular. But again, we're talking about a genre issue here. And the Ben thing, like I said, it's clearly not that, because all these other games, with the exception of Metaphor and Sea Stars, but like Persona 5, both of them, Octopath, both of them, we're talking about games that precede Ben by quite a bit. And I just don't know what happened here. And so I'm in this struggle bus, Tim, of I think a lot of this is PTSD from Game of the Year, where it's like, I never want to stand in the way of Kind of Funny's Game of the Year. And it's that idea of, y'all love metaphor, but I don't even put it on my list. What does that do to the numbers? And this is a stupid argument. I already know. We're vulnerable. We're being vulnerable. Because, of course, our top 10 list isn't the 10 best games of the year. They're the 10 Kind of Funny games. Yeah. What defined for Kind of Funny that thing? But it just, I'm in a really weird spot, I feel, where back-to-back years there are 10 out of 10 amazing games that I just cannot get into. Like, you were watching me at the Twist. When because it happened on Friday or Thursday, or Friday, and you were slacking me something like, the thing is happening right now. I can't talk to you. Oh my God. And when it was done, you were like, you're not nearly as upset as you should be for what just happened. And it's like, yeah, because I'm so fucking annoyed by the game at this point that I can't care about the story.
Coming out of the bench.
Except Pokemon. Go.
May I? There's a lot to break down here that's interesting. Let me just start by saying,
I just want to do my job.
Obviously, you're allowed to feel this way, and obviously it's your opinion, and your experience is your experience with these games. And coming from me particularly, like, there's a lot of genres that I'm like, I just don't like them. I get bored. I'm not invested. And even if the story's good, or even if I love the characters, or even if XYZ, if it's not grabbing me the way I want it to, I'm out. Like, that's a very Tim thing, and it's always been that way. Metaphor, I actually think, is an example of, like, despite me not loving that type of traditional JRPG, loved the story so much that it was like pulling me along. I ended up not beating it, though. I did at some point fall off. The biggest reason for that, though, is just the sheer length of it.
Yeah.
Expedition being so much shorter, to me, solved that problem. In addition to that, it being turn-based, and I know, like, oh, it's different, and like, there's so many ways you can shake it. There's just something that I am not able to wrap my head around of you, Greg Miller, not liking Expedition 33 with its combat, especially once you add the Pokemon into it. Adding, like, I feel like a big part of this conversation is going to be asking you, what is it you like about Pokemon? Like, what is it that works there? Because maybe it isn't even the turn-based battles. Maybe it is the other stuff around it.
I think so.
But even that, I'm like, that's interesting, and I get it, and that's fine. But
safe spot, everybody.
The stuff surrounding an Expedition is just so high quality and engaging, and Greg Miller. Like, that's the thing to me that I'm struggling here, because Last Class Gaming is saying, what even is a Greg-ass game anymore? And playing Expedition 33 is such you can say it's this person's game, that person's game, whatever, but the elements of it, so many of them, I'm like, this is a Greg-ass game. And that's obviously story and characters and the way it's presented and all of that. But gameplay-wise, just talking about the turn-based combat, with how active it is, focusing on the parries and focusing on just all the gameplay itself. It is so, I would say, as close to turn-based combat as it is to God of War Ragnarok in terms of them coming at you and parrying. The only difference is you moving around with the analog stick. Like, it is so active of you need to be paying attention and like dodging and stuff that I'm not saying it has to click with everybody, but I'm surprised it doesn't click with you knowing you. Yeah. And at the very least, starting here, let me ask you, like, are you engaged in the story?
No, I wish I was. I think it starts so strong. We can spoil the opening.
The very opening, right? I just want to be very sensitive about this game.
100%. I think the opening is incredibly strong, as it was in the preview period, as it is here. I think one of my problems with it is that when we get to the island, the continent, right, and we get going, we get away from the serious nature of it so quickly. Where now it is about gesturals and this brush head and this guy and these weird little creatures that don't even have faces that I got to do. I got to go in the arena and fight all these. I'm like, dude, the main story is so good. Why am I not in that? I understand that this is almost Wizard of Oz, like, where I have to come in and be like, okay, to get to point B to get to point C means I have to go to B and do their little side task to get whatever information or help or boat I need to get to. But it's just like, I feel like there's a juxtaposition there I don't appreciate of how serious it is, how heavy the subject matter is, and then how light it is all of a sudden. And then we get a little bit dark, but then it's still light. It's like, I feel it should be like, we are fucking PTSD'd and we need to go and we just saw this fucking thing. Why are we talking about anything but this fucking thing? Why are you okay following the little what are we doing with the fucking thing over here? Like that's, so like if they were giving me the fucking thing and we were like that, like eyes on the prize, this is what we're doing. I feel like I gotta see this through. I gotta do it. But again, when we're just like, ooh, I'm like, all right, everybody. All right, man. I don't need to be a part of this.
I'm so surprised.
And I think that might be one of my the killing blow things too. And clearly not. I don't like turn-based RPGs. I can't do them, even when the combat is more active, is whatever. But I think it's the fact that this has this injection of fantasy in it, into the fantasy kind that I don't like. Where like when it was just when we're people and we're doing the people thing, awesome, cool. Let's have these relationships and conversations, blah blah blah. And then when we get into this more fantasy stuff that I'm trying to stay away from, for spoilers and whatever. Yeah. It just waters the experience down to a point of like, and especially where I'm just like, I'm literally to the point of just like, how does it end? Like, I don't care anymore about the journey. I don't care about getting to the thing. Well, I'm just going to read a Wikipedia, but I'll enjoy that more than I would enjoy going through the rest of it. Because again, the gameplay of it, to me, I am wrong. It's just grating. It's like, I just don't enjoy it. I think the game also, I do have a problem with it. From someone, back to the Greg just can't dodge. No, I can dodge sometimes. I do wish this game had a God of War. They're going and there's a flash, and I know that's when I need to be hitting. A good parallel, I think, of, hey, I'm getting outside of my comfort of a genre, right? Look at Hell Is Us. I came back singing that game's praises, right? My most anticipated game now for 2025. And it's just definitively not a traditional Greg game. It is about parries. Is it about dodging? It is about, hitting the button at the right time to suck in the white stuff around you to get your health back, right? And I feel that game does such a good job of showing you, like, this is when you should be doing this. And it's getting the timing. Sure, I'm getting it. Whereas with, Claire, I was very much like, okay, I'm clearly not getting something about the dodging or the parrying. What am I not getting about parrying? Did a Google. And I find like a subreddit thread of just some person being like, I don't know how people don't get it. Right before it hits, do it. And I'm like, but I'm doing that and it's not working. It's like, that's the advice people can give you about this thing. And it's like, well, when that advice doesn't work for me, and then I got to go through. And again, this is, the dodging and the parrying are not one of my issues. It's not an issue of like what's stopping me from enjoying the game. It is just the monotony of doing it. And again, this is a genre problem that it apparently repels me from the genre. It is that idea of getting into a battle. Okay, the dude is weak to ice. I also think I missed from my Persona days, right? A Rize or whoever to sit there and say, oh, remember, or a Teddy, right? Of like, you fought this guy before. He's vulnerable to fire. He's vulnerable to, hit the button and see their weaknesses if I've engaged with them before, where I wasn't getting that in Expedition unless it's buried somewhere. Anyways, get into a battle, realize they're vulnerable to ice, and then it's like, okay, well, now I've got it cracked. And so even if I'm going to have to just go through the motions of this and block or parry here, sure, but like, the guy's beat. I know what I need to do. Now I just need to sit here for a few minutes and do that. Like, that's what I think on a Matrix see the code, what gameplay is in these games gets me of just like, okay, I feel like it's like when I'm playing, this is a very weird comparison, but this is a safe spot, everybody. We're not trying to fight. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm glad you enjoy this game, and I will not stand in its way to its being crowned game of the year. We'll see. But it's the idea of like, I just came off of playing Escape Academy, right? Back to school or whatever it's called. But Escape Academy in general, Tim. These puzzles and rooms and, crack the code to do the thing, to open the door, to get the thing. Well, and it's that idea of when I finally figure out the solution and I run back and I put the solution in and then I go, that's that instant, I guess not even instant. It's the payoff to the gratification where I feel like if I had the code in the first step of what I'm doing or second step of what I'm doing, but then I had to do 4 or more steps, I'd be why am I, you know what I mean? Like there's the build up to it. I get the answer and I go. Whereas with these kind of games, I feel like I get the answer and then I have to go through these motions of a dance I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel where you're coming from. I do not agree
and
whatsoever.
That's fine. Yeah. Well, I mean, the gamers are different gamers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it is funny to me because the turn-based side, let's start talking a little bit about Pokemon. Like what,
sure.
Let's talk about the turn-based aspect of that. Does it work for you?
Yes, but I think it's because it's so frictionless. Like,
because it is literally the most turn-based. Like that, you cannot get more actually turn-based RPG.
Animations are quick. I feel like that's great. I'm into the fight. I'm doing the thing. I'm beating them or getting my ass kicked, which, come on, doesn't happen to me. But, you go through. I think you hop in. Here are your moves. It's effective. It's super effective. It's whatever. Like, I feel like it's such a streamlined experience to get the thing done. And I also think to bring it back and give kudos to Octopath Traveler, both games that, again, I've played way more than most turn-based RPGs that I'm talking about, right? I think Octopath does that too, to a degree. Where, again, Octopath, I never remember being bored to tears with the combat. I remember enjoying the combat enough, but eventually just having my fill because it's so much of the same. Again, any game can overstay its welcome, I feel. And so it's that thing of, I don't even know if Octopath ever overstayed its welcome. I just got what I wanted out of both of them, right? Would have loved to have seen the stories completed, but it's not like that. I was so connected. I digress. For Pokemon, it's the fact that I think it's streamlined. I think there's something interesting to Pokemon of coming in and being a tourist. Like, this is something obviously you could never experience because you've been with Pokemon your whole life. I haven't, right? Where it's like Michael Bryan's kid brother liked Pokemon in high school, so I saw Pokemon Snap a few times. And then it wasn't until being at IGN and hearing, okay, whatever, and playing the Soul Silver one for a little bit with the pedometer, I was like, okay, not my jam, right? Jen and I played the...
you don't even like the good ones. I'm just fucking.
I hear you. Jen and I, but even then it was like that. So I think that's one of the reasons Violet works so differently, though. And even the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the one Jen and I played on our flight from France, and that was the first Pokemon I ever rolled credits on. But I know it's not a real Pokemon game, right? Again, frictionless, seamless. You're just going. You're kind of clowning everybody out. Violet works in a way that even Arceus didn't. Even though I enjoyed Arceus, Violet is the closest it's been, and I really think that ZA is going to be the evolution of that, no pun intended, of like, I like the world so much here. Arceus, I didn't enjoy being in a, hey,
Old
medieval
ass
times Pokemon, whatever you want to call it, I don't fucking know. This one, I really don't like always being locked in my fucking school uniform. I hate that shit, you know what I mean? But for ZA to be like, you're in Paris and like you have cool outfits, it looks like, and shit, I'm like, okay, an open world and all this stuff. Like, I think Pokemon has this thing to it of like, and again, Pokemon's not a story to me. That's not what I'm playing Violet for, right?
Yeah.
But I do enjoy, again, being the tourist, like, what is this Pokemon? I've never seen this before. Have I caught him yet? I haven't. Cool, let's catch. I think it's telling that the game, asks you multiple times in Violet, right? Of like, well, what do you want? What do you hear? I guess it's actually the opening and then your test at the end, right? Of like, well, why do you want to be a Pokemon master, right? And it's like, I just want to collect Pokemon. I want to battle. I want to just see the world. Like, I enjoy that there's like these three like pillars to this game that leave it up to you what to do. So again, it's one of those weird ones of I never feel like I'm wasting my time in Pokemon, even though I feel like I can be quite aimless in Pokemon. Where it is, I'm going to get to Northeast Zone 2 or whatever the fuck they're called, you know what I mean, to go get that thing and start this mission that I've never done. But then it's like on the way there, I do get stopped and I'm like, oh, wait, I haven't caught these? Oh, I've never caught any of these Pokemon. Let's sit here and do this. Oh shit, I'm killing them too fast. Give me a lower level Pokemon to fight them, to catch them, to do that kind of thing. I don't know. There's something about that aspect to it that I like a lot. And it is about living in that world. Again, I'm wrong. Everybody, I'm wrong. I'm not telling you how to enjoy video games at all. We're going to talk about mechanics here and things that are as stupid in the games I love as they are in any game, but whatever. Something about Expedition 33 and something about all these, we'll toss Persona in there, right? Because as a big Persona fan, Persona 4 and Persona 3, obviously. And Persona 5, even though I didn't finish it. There's something about running through the halls of something or an area in these games that are like, it's real. It's not real, but you know what I mean? I'm a person and I'm doing this thing. And then there's just a glowing dot over there that I get there in Expedition. It's a new Luna or whatever the fuck. I'm like, it's weird. Now, I literally stick with me. This is what I'm talking about if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But for me, it is about seeing the Matrix of cool. There's this fucking thing just glowing there. I'd much rather it be Assassin's Creed, whatever other game, Uncharted, where I have to break a crate, smash something, move something to see that thing there. These worlds don't feel real because there's things just sitting there, right? To me, in these instances. No one's dressing the set in a way that's making me buy into the picture.
It's interesting because like at the end of the day, I just think this
Every
always
game
goes
does
down
this.
to you don't like the game. And which is like, that's fair and that's fine. But like, I feel like even like trying to even rationalize why is where to
I think
me,
it's so
starts
fascinating
falling
though,
apart.
right? It's so fascinating though, because
let's take a quick word from our sponsors before we continue this. This episode is brought to you by Cash App. We've all had those moments getting meals out with people that always end in some kind of awkward experience of having to figure out the least complicated way to just get it done. Or even after figuring it out, have you used an app and ended up having to wait days for your money to finally show up? What if we could solve all of that easily? Cash App is a completely different experience, fast, easy, and safe, and a great way to receive and transfer money to family and friends. It's incredibly easy to set up. You just enter your phone or email and some other basic information, no bank account needed, and then there's no waiting around for days. It's your money, you shouldn't have to wait. We love using Cash App because it's fast, it's safe, and it just makes life way less stressful. For a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, there's no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code, Kinda Funny, in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. This episode is brought to you by Mood. Let me tell you about the online cannabis company that's revolutionizing how we deal with life's challenges. From sleepless nights to stress-filled days, Mood.com has created an entire line of functional gummies that target specific health concerns with 100% federally legal THC blends. They'll deliver them discreetly right to your doorstep, and you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com with promo code Kinda Funny. I've been having a great time trying out all their different gummies, and I'm loving how each one feels. Their sleepy time gummies will knock you out in about 15 minutes flat. No hangovers, no grogginess, and their Epic Euphoria gummies are perfect for those days when nothing's going right. And best of all, not only does Mood stand behind everything with an industry-leading 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code Kinda Funny. So head to Mood.com, browse their amazing selection of functional gummies, and find the perfect gummy for whatever you are dealing with. And remember to use promo code Kinda Funny at checkout to save 20% on your first order.
Now, a lot of people not being respectful in the chat anymore. All right. You're starting to try to do it. We were very clear. This was safe. I'm wrong. And I see people in there going, oh, Greg's doing all this stuff, trying to say Pokemon's better. I did not fucking say that. Those words have never come out of my mouth that I said Pokemon Violet's a better game than Expedition 33. I did not say that. That is not the point of my argument here. My argument is that I am broken, and we are trying to figure out why I like this very traditional turn-based RPG, but a more modern turn-based RPG isn't working for me. Shout out to the people who are understanding me, even if they don't agree with me. And shout out to Blessing, who said he feels me on my stupid thing before.
All right, like, because if we're actually,
I'm trying to figure out why does this one turn-based RPG work?
Because it's mindless. I think the answer is because you don't need to actually care. You don't need to be active, and it's like you literally, it is a time waste. It is just like looking at nice little things and having fun little moments of shock and not shock and awe.
Surprise and
delight.
Surprise and
delight. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of where this is at. It's like for you to jump into Pokemon Violet of all things.
I should have had Scarlet, but Jen took it from me.
Again, coming from Kinda Funny, like Bless and I think are on the higher end of the world when it comes to our opinion on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think me even more so.
Yeah.
Like being able to see past that game's flaws. It's many, many flaws that a lot are solved with the Switch too, but not all of them.
Yeah.
There's still something very special about that gameplay, and it really is from very different perspectives than you. Like for me specifically, growing up, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are what I thought Pokemon Stadium was going to be.
Yeah.
The first Nintendo 64 Pokemon game, like it is about to be Pokemon, but in 3D. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is that. And I think because it is 2025, and when the game came out 2022 or whatever it was, like it's a little too late for that. Sure. But still, it's a dream realized. It is like, oh my God, it's actually this gameplay just translated to a Super Mario 64 looking world in 2022.
Yeah.
But there's still something about that I'm like, hell yeah, I'm finally getting something I've wanted for so long. So yeah, you talking about the tourist angle and coming into it, like,
and being my first real Pokemon game.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's go. I mean, it's real's weird, especially with Pokemon. Where
how about this? Hear me on this then. Mm-hmm. It being my first real Pokemon experience, and what I mean by that is that with Let's Go, I was playing with Jen.
Okay.
And it was very much Jen is a big Pokemon fan. Mm-hmm. And so I was playing with her in a way to humor her. Mm-hmm. Like I can't tell you what the gameplay of Let's Go was anymore. I know it is in a full-fledged Pokemon is what people said back in the day.
Let me just say this, because I want to, like, I'm a Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee defender in many ways. I think that undeniably it is the greatest art style that a Pokemon game has had so far. It's beautiful.
Can I see a trailer for Pokemon?
The characters just look right, and I love it. The game, at the end of the day, the biggest problem with it and why it's not a core Pokemon game is the catching. Is you're just it's just throw the ball at the wild Pokemon, and you're not fighting the wild Pokemon, which is a pretty big change.
Right.
But the trainer battles, they're Pokemon trainer battles.
Okay.
And it's a remake of Red and Blue, like, again.
Okay.
So I feel like it's easy mode for a game that I feel most people would say doesn't need an easy mode.
Got it.
But
easy mode's a good way to put it.
But the reality is, it's like these games are awesome. Like I have 100%ed them multiple times. I'm both Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah.
Completed the Pokedex. Like, these are so fun to shiny hunt in. But yeah, like, this art style, it's like, this is
really
great
good
for Pokemon.
Yeah,
compare this to definitely Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, but then also even Scarlet and Violet and all of those. Like, there's something about this that I'm like, I wish we can go back to some of this style that feels more Pokemon anime-esque. But I would argue that if you played with Jen, that is a little bit different. But like, this is a Pokemon game.
Okay.
But especially with the gyms and the Elite Four and all that stuff, you're getting the core experience. But yeah,
so back to it then. I think that's interesting, and I mean to cut you off, sorry, but I want to keep justifying what I'm saying about Let's Go versus Violet. Is that I don't know if I really understood gym leaders. I don't know if I really cared about gym leaders. I don't care. I don't know how much you talk about a time waster. I don't know how much mental bandwidth on the plane ride to and from France playing this thing and going out and getting a baguette and having a cup of coffee playing with Jen. I was really like thinking about. Whereas like here I'm coming into Violet, and the whole reason I restarted Violet, because I had played at launch a little bit and then fell off, is that Ben started watching the Pokemon show, the original one. And I was watching that with him, and I was like, oh, like this is an interesting context to the world that I've never given. The games can't replicate the energy of the show, I feel, and the whimsical nature of it, and the announcer telling me every time what Ash and Pikachu are up to. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is actually kind of cool. I like that. That's when I restarted Violet from scratch and felt like I had a jump start to it. And I understood as I watched that a little bit more of what the fuck I'm trying to do as a character in this world that I think I didn't get before. And so that's the idea here, where it's like, oh, okay, the headmaster's there, getting to the bottom of this Team Star and what the fuck's up with them and these bullies and shit. I'm like, okay, like I'm with you on this in a way that I can't tell you anything about what I did in Let's Go.
Yeah.
This is and I'm playing this alone. Like, Jen is not playing. Well, Ben's been throwing some balls lately, but you know what I mean? Jen's not playing it alongside me, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's my first solo.
Yeah, I know God, everything you say, again, very interesting, and everyone has different experiences, especially when you don't have a frame of reference necessarily for what a, quote, Pokemon game is. Real quick, Biggs in the chat said something I really like. Let's Go is less easy mode, and it's more like playing chess, but you only have pawns. Like, that's kind of what it is. Okay. It's just very pared down, but it is the game still.
Yeah.
So yeah, with what you're saying, it is funny because I would think that most people would argue with it. It's like all the stuff you're talking about is like the extra fluff stuff of the game. Like, that's not even the core game stuff, but whatever, that's the way you're enjoying the game. Cool.
Yeah.
And Scarlet and Violet do, I think, to your point earlier, kind of have the three different routes, or not routes, but three different
pillars.
Things you're doing.
Yeah.
The things the game's asking you to do. And it does ask you to do all of them. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like, you can't just do one of the paths, but I do think that is a pretty major difference than we've seen in the previous games, but also this is the first open one, right? Yeah. This is the first go wherever you want in this world game, core game.
I don't mean.
As opposed to a generational game, as opposed to the Legends games. But yeah, it's just, I think that really a lot of this comes down to the headline of this, of Pokemon versus Clair Expedition 33 for Greg Miller. Greg's take on it. I think Greg's take is you're enjoying your time with Pokemon for what that time is.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's what you're doing with it. I don't mean this is shaded in any way, but it's just offended. You're not playing the Pokemon game. You're like, or you are playing it, but like the gym leaders and all that stuff, it's like for that to just be over your head. It's like it is just
no. That was Let's Go.
Oh, okay.
Here I'm doing that. I beat the shit out of them. I'm to my final exam. I just need to beef up some of my Pokemon to take on this and become a master, and then go for the DLC. No. I don't want you to misunderstand my point. I'm invested in this one. Like, I know what's happening in this world. Like, I don't think the story is like fucking the story. It's not that, and not that it's meant to be, right? Like, it's Pokemon, whatever. Battle and fucking do the thing and become the champion or whatever. I don't know what the fuck Pokemon guys do, but it's like that's what I'm doing, and I'm enjoying that. It was Let's Go where I was just through the motions, capturing, fighting. I'm fighting you. I don't know why I'm fighting you that much. Whereas here, it's like running around and like, oh man, I'm in a newish area. Have I fought the people in the streets here? Because I got that guy who's going to be around the Pokemon Center that'll tell me and give me some stuff if I go do that.
Yeah.
And you need to teach me about the TMs and stuff of what I'm doing.
Oh,
there.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, this all makes sense. Like, we're talking about games that have a lot of fun and a lot of different ways to have fun in them.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that, actually, I take that back. I am surprised that you're liking Pokemon Violet. Like, just knowing you and knowing everything that we just talked about here and knowing that about you, knowing that you're not into the turn-based stuff, and also you're not into collecting stuff. And really, when I think about it, there's not much about Pokemon that I think Greg Miller would like.
Yeah.
You know?
I like the collecting. I like collecting stuff.
But I mean, are you trying to complete the Pokedex? Or
Go
like,
out of here. Well, I mean, this is all right now just warming me up for Za.
yeah.
Like, so am I all in on Zara? You know, I'm going to do this. And again, this is also like, this is just keeping the Switch warm until Donkey Kong gets here. How far will I be into Pokemon by then? You know what I mean? I got a couple plane rides with Ben this weekend, so it's like maybe I'll get more in there and do that, but never.
Yeah. Because, it's interesting thinking about going back to me thinking of Greg Miller. Would he like Pokemon in general, but Scarlet and Violet?
Yeah.
And I would say no, because not knowing that you're playing, not knowing anything I know about you just before you've ever touched this game. No, because the turn-based. No, because the story is paper thin at best.
Yeah.
Not even, you don't care that much about the technical aspects and all that stuff, but it's pretty damn bad at this, right? So it's like, there's a lot of things there. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't think of you as somebody that like has that completionist tick for this type of thing. Like trophies, yes. Like wanting to platinum certain Assassin's Creeds that you're super into, like, sure, all that stuff. But that is stuff that's wrapped around characters and story that you care about. And that's why on Expedition side, and you explained so far what you're not loving about it with the juxtaposition, and I totally understand where you're coming from that.
Yeah.
I think that when you know the whole of how it all happens, it's like, well, that goes away. But with where you're at and what you've experienced, totally understand where you are. But I can look at Expedition and be like, oh, great, this is a great thing. It's a story-driven, character-driven, well-performed narrative adventure, right? And so the gameplay stuff, that is more of a question. If Greg doesn't traditionally like turn-based, this reminds me of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a lot. We had a very similar, I don't want to call it a problem, but roadblock last year or whatever year that was, right?
Yeah.
Where that is a very, very, very active battle system.
Yeah.
Like, not really turn-based at all. It's more just a menu-based action system.
Yeah.
And that didn't work for you either. And that's another one that I would say I can see you pushing past the things you don't like about it, because there's a lot of other elements that I think of you loving: characters, story, worlds, all that. So that's the thing that I struggle to understand the most. But some things it's just gut stuff, and it's just like, I don't have a good time with this. So
It's interesting you bring up Final Fantasy Rebirth, because I'd also toss in Final Fantasy 16, which not a turn-based game at all. A game that's all about being story and stuff, and it just didn't work for me. Like, I don't know, and this is an interesting angle, and I'm wondering,
because earlier I was saying that Expedition 33, I don't want to be clear about what I'm saying here, because I'm not saying it's one-to-one.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, like, there are similarities between the God of War style gameplay, like the parry, like the combat, and Expedition 33. I think it's way more similar to a Final Fantasy X or something like that, but it's somewhere in the middle, because it is very reflex and action focused and all of that. The Final Fantasy side for 16, that is straight up. It's not turn-based at all. It has nothing to do with Final Fantasy battle systems, except for like the type of magic you're using and the summons and things like that. The gameplay is straight up God of War, straight up Devil May Cry. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where we get interesting, where I think if you were to ask me right now off the top of my dome, why did I walk away from Final Fantasy 16, right? My problem there was I didn't, and I know this is so weird because we're back to this question from Last Glass Gaming of what is a Greg-ass game anymore, which I still would tell you is story, but maybe it's Western storytelling. And maybe that's an issue we're running into, again, with the exception of Pokemon. Where, of course, we're talking about Expedition being from France. We're talking about Final Fantasy from Japan, right? I guess Kojima would get in the way of this argument as I try to figure out what's going on. But I remember Final Fantasy 16, like, I just was like, it's the same thing with Final Fantasy 15 when we did the event, and they were like, we're trying to bring in people like Greg and obviously super fans like Tim. And when I sat down and played it, I'm like, I don't believe in these characters. I don't believe in this world. And so even if you're telling me the story's great and the performances are great, I get all that. It was I don't want to say there's a je ne sais quoi about it. There's something I can't put my finger on it, but it was like, I feel like when I look at Kingdom Hearts, there's a plastic shine to these characters, right? That I'm like, well, this just isn't that. And I feel like that was on 15, and I feel to some regard it was with Final Fantasy 16 too.
See, that, I mean, that's the thing is like, I can't fathom you saying that.
Yeah.
Like Kingdom Hearts and 15, Kingdom Hearts is, I think, a great example of the point you're trying to make, because I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
15, yes, I can see that. It's more realistic, sure, but like it does have the way the characters act, the way they're written. Yes. Final Fantasy 16, I think, is very, I mean, again, we during the review periods and like the conversation around 16, it's Game of Thrones. It is very Western.
Which I was never a fan of.
Yeah,
you know
but it's Western. You know, I would say that like Final Fantasy 16's the writing and story and characters are more similar to Western storytelling than they are to the Kingdom Hearts style of storytelling, or even the Final Fantasy 15 style of storytelling.
Yeah,
bringing in something like Dragon Age Veilguard, which you loved.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like I wonder what it is there, because you love those characters, you love that world, right? And like that is a action RPG.
Yeah.
What is it about those elements, though? Like, what?
I think combat felt. Well, I mean,
there?
right. I would jump in here that I think combat for me. Let's dial all that. I was about to put good or bad or whatever. Dragon Age Veilguard's action-based combat felt better to me than Final Fantasy 16's and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth's action straight up gameplay. Stick with me. Back in the day, I never liked Devil May Cry. I just did not like that. We're flying through the air, spinning, attacking, doing like that's just not the one. When you're talking about an action game like that, when you're talking about Stellar Blade, when you're talking about like that kind of action game, that is not me. And I would never. I can see you made the reference earlier, which I don't agree with, but I understand, of like you saying it was more like God of War, more like Devil May Cry, whereas God of War, and you're talking about 2018 God of War, right?
Yeah,
and God of War 2018 to me doesn't feel like Devil May Cry or an action game that way. It feels, I feel planted and I feel heavy, and I feel like this feels more like Kingdoms of Amalur, Assassin's Creed, like. I feel like I'm in that character's shoes, boots, the way it feels. Whereas when I'm doing something crazy in most Capcom action games, I'm grabbing Beautiful Joe, which is not the example I'm looking for. Like I feel, Bayonetta. When you're doing the crazy ass shit and it doesn't feel like there's any weight to you, I don't like that.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 is, I think, as similar to God of War gameplay as it is to Devil May Cry. Like it's, and again, whatever, different people, different feel, like just different, whatever it is. But there's so many more similarities than differences. And I understand the Devil May Cry, like the flying around, being in the air, shooting the guns, all that stuff, like Bayonetta, like the pace of it all. And like there is a slick, stylish action to it. Whereas like, I do feel like that grounded more, having the different loadouts with the different weapons, like in God of War and in Final Fantasy 16, like there's a lot of similarities there. And I didn't play any Dragon Age Veilguard, but from seeing you guys play it, it's not that, like, how similar would you say Dragon Age Veilguard combat and God of War combat is?
It's a question I've ever asked. Blessing, I think I can't find where you just slacked. If you want to come in. Yes, come in, hang out. I'm trying to find it in the
let's
Slack,
get some
but
more
I can't.
voices in here.
Yeah, because he's got something to relate to this conversation. It gets hard because in Veilguard you do that thing where you bring up the overlay and you control both your superpowers and the magic powers of the other people you're with. So like that's where that breaks away. And then to think about what it was like just to be mashing my buttons and stabbing people with my swords and stuff, I guess it was similar. I'm forgetting what parrying felt like and dodging felt like in Veilguard to make a worthwhile comparison here. But I'll say they're not completely foreign by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Les is popping in. I'm very excited to hear what he has to add to this conversation, because I think we're getting somewhere. But I also just think that a lot of this comes down to just there is an innate game feel that feels a certain way to each player. And you're either in it or you're not.
Here he comes. Hey, Bless.
Yo.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I've just been listening to the conversation. I've been really enjoying the conversation.
It's a safe spot. Don't hurt me.
I like
Don't
when we
hurt
talk about how we don't like games. No, as you talked about it, right? Like one of the things that keeps coming to mind is this thing. There's a video I watched. I know I brought it up before, like I think in the last years of like. There's a YouTube channel called Extra Credits that does a lot of video essays.
Yeah.
One of the video essays I watched was about this thing called Bartle's taxonomy of player types that breaks players down into different categories regarding like what they like to get out of video games and like why they play video games. So the 4 categories they have are achievers, explorers, socializers, and killers. And they have like reasonings for those things within like single player games and multiplayer games. So like,
So can I just jump? I mean, not knowing anything about what you're to say, I would say
Also,
off the
really
page,
quick. Sorry, Bless. You can stand normally. The shot is wider.
sick. Okay.
off the top of the dome, not knowing. I would say I'm an explorer. Like that's usually where I'm drawn at. If I want to run to go down the path that's least trodden, do this thing, get more out of the game, explore the map, do that jazz. Again, maybe why Pokemon's working in a way, right? Because where the fuck is the goddamn mini map in Expedition? But I digress.
So I think, and I think multiple of these would appeal to you because jumping into it, right? For Achiever, this is the one that I thought of you with, right? Every game this is for single player games. Every game that can be beaten in some way caters to the Achiever playstyle by giving them something to accomplish. Games that offer a 100% completion rating appeal to Achievers.
Okay.
So for me, that makes
Trophies.
me think of you as regarding trophies, but
Yeah,
also
yeah.
regarding things like Assassin's Creed and like these games that are made to like do everything, complete
Checklists.
everything, like the checklist style games. And then for multiplayer, they go on to talk about, I guess, similar things as far as like achievement systems. But then you have Explorers, which I think also appeals to you in some regards. Those single player games, combat and gaining levels or points is secondary to the Explorer. So they traditionally flock to games such as Myst. In these games, as one example, right? But in these games, the player finds themselves in a strange place, and the objective is to find their way out by paying close attention to detail and solving puzzles. For me, the thing that comes to mind is Gone Home, regarding like you're in this place and you want to discover more, you want to see like what the mystery is. Killer, you're definitely not a killer, right? Like for me, when I think
Lover,
of
not
killer,
fighter.
you know, this is like talking about speed running or hitting the high score. For me, I think of like Souls games as far as like why I would call myself a killer for this kind of category. And then the last one would be Socializers, which I think would be maybe in like the case of you playing Monster Hunter or Fortnite or something, where it's hanging out with people. Or I guess in regard to narrative games, right? What they write here. For single player, since their objective is not much so to win or explore as it is to be social, there are a few games that the socializer enjoy based on their merits. Instead, they play some of the more popular games so that they can use multiplayer features. However, there are some games designed with their playstyle in mind, with socializers may in particular enjoy. They go on to then cite like Mass Effect or Fable and Knights of the Old Republic. I think the thing where it's like you're building a party, maybe it's the Persona thing for you, where it is like, oh, I love Chie, I love these characters, and I like socializing.
I do love Chie.
So
Okay.
As I listened, I was like, maybe that's
helpful. Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful.
Where your tastes lie.
Well, it's
and,
just,
like, what you might like and
I
not
think
like.
it's an interesting deep dive. You know what I mean? Especially for somebody who the audience knows so well, I'd imagine. Most people have been around a long time to hear me talk about games.
Yeah.
But for me to be in this thing, I was just like, 2 years in a row, I'm just like, can't make this work, and I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, Blast Glass Gaming says, thank you so much, Blast.
Thank you, Bless.
Blast Glass Gaming, going back to this, says, what even is a Greg-ass game anymore? And I feel that has changed over the years.
100%,
And I feel
yeah.
like we've talked about it a lot. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
think we need to retread that necessarily here because, yeah, we have seen you a couple years ago. It was a surprise. It's not anymore. You really like multiplayer kind of
Sure,
like
yeah, Division when that
division
came
type
on.
experiences,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
No, Monster Hunter, yeah.
which I think back when we launched this company, that would have been an insane thing to bring up. Like that was
For
like
sure.
the opposite
For sure.
of a Greg game.
I think even
right?
if you look at my fantasy critic, kindoffunny.com/KF League 2025, like you see, and I don't know if this is a difference, but me skewing more indie, right? Where I have stuff like Wheel World and Hurdling on there. I got burned on to a T. We'll see how the other ones pan out. But like, what is a Greg game? Like, quirky different game that's doing something.
little small things too. I think
Caravan
it is
Sandwich last time
Yeah.
around, last year, and stuff like that. On top of the big stuff and the big narratives, obviously, you're at Death Strandings and Kojimas and all that jazz, and whatever Neil and team have up their sleeves with Interstellar and whatever PlayStation put out. Ghost of Yotei, of course.
We got a bunch of super chats,
I'm sure we do.
and I want to get to each and every one of them.
Thank you. They better
Okay.
be respectful.
Well, the first one says, "Greg, this L is for you."
See, there it is.
from
There it is.
JV.
There it is. I
Bonifazio.
don't understand what you didn't understand, that I'm being vulnerable. I'm
You can still take the L on it. Like,
can't-
I don't think
hate
that's.
that. I hate that. I hate
Well, then
that.
just stop saying you're wrong. Then
Greg's got shitty opinions in games.
Well,
What I'm doing there is trying to diffuse the situation. Because when the comments in the chat gets really angry is when I'm like, this game's dumb. I'm not saying this game's dumb. I'm saying it doesn't work for me, and here's why.
I think that's respectful. I think there's a level.
Throw the L back at him, Tim. Refund his money.
All right, man. Vishal says, phew, he just doesn't like turn-based. I was afraid he'd say Expedition 33 is poo-poo.
Oh,
you
no,
get a pass
absolutely
on
not.
this, Greg.
Voice
P.S.
acting's
that was
great.
hard.
Music is great. Again, the overall story is interesting. And so it is that thing of, I want to know. And people, while we've been live, someone emailed me with a mod to put on where you go into God mode and you can just kill everything in one hit. That also, that sounds mind-numbing, right? Like, when you think about video games and you think about sitting down to play a video game, you want to enjoy your time thoroughly, right? Like, and this is, I bristle, I admit, of like when people are like, well, Greg's a dad now, so his opinion, it's not an opinion about games that have changed. It's not even that, like, I have less time to play than when I was single and could sit there and marathon DC UO for 18 hours a day, right? But it's that idea of, like, I'm still playing the games I need to play for work and for fun to make the content I need to make for my job, right? Whether it's at my desk here and being better about budgeting my time, or when I go home and I play, whether on a Portal or on a ROG or downstairs late at night. But it's that idea of, like, the idea of sitting down and putting it on one hit kill to go through Expedition 33 to see the end cutscene or whatever, or the cutscenes along the way, sounds as worthless a use of my time as sitting down and all I'm gonna do tonight with 4 hours of game time is play all the Platy Birds and get more platinum trophies.
I completely disagree with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that, and this is coming again from somebody that is a major fan of this game, and I have major criticisms with it. Like, I, for a very different reason, really wish the game had a mini map. I talked about that in my review. Like, there's a lot of things I'm like, this game has things that I wish were different, right? But I feel like if the combat's, sorry, let me say this straight. If we're just talking about the combat being a problem for you, it'd be like, all right, cool. The solution is, well, the story's so great and everything else in the game is so great, then yeah, just turn on God mode, whatever, and you'll get through the stuff you don't like quicker. So if you're not liking the story, you're not vibing with all the stuff, then there's no saving this. Like, that just is what it is. I think that this game has so much amazing story beats and character moments and worlds to see and worlds to explore, and the differences in seeing each different kind of area that you're in and how it all adds one to the next, to the next, to the next, where it does seem a little bit Wizard of Ozzy and kind of one note for a while. Yeah. But then when you get towards the end, the way that, like, it's so hard to not spoil things, but like, just to say this, knowing the entire story and the world and then looking back at the world, I think is such an amazing experience. And getting there, because the performances are so good and because the music is so amazing and because so much of this game is fucking awesome, that, like, just watching a stream of it, I think, would be an amazing time. Like, just watching the game, watching someone else play the game would be amazing. But even then, some of the combat is story, like the boss fights you'd want to watch for sure, because there's story beats interwoven, but just all the general combat stuff, you could just straight up skip. So if there was like a God mode mod to just skip through that stuff, like, I just think there's so much worthwhile stuff of literally exploring and getting a story, which are things that you love. But if you're not liking the story and you're not liking the characters, then it's like, all right, well, then
it's not. I like the characters. I mean, again, this opening and Sophie, and I mean, come on now, that's a fucking awesome. I think one of the things that's interesting, and this is, I didn't go over this. I'm 11 hours in, right? I'm through the twist like we talked about. Like, I'm not enjoying exploring, and it's back to the mini map thing, but also the fact that I just feel like I'm running down, is like, there's this purple grass, and I'm not insulting the direction, I'm just giving an example. There's purple grass and this, that, the other, and then I run down and I get the thing and I run back and I turn, and then I wait, now I'm turned around. Where did I come in? Where did I leave? I know to look for the lights or whatever, but it's like the world doesn't seem interesting to explore. It seems interesting to explore to get another Lune or whatever the Pictos to put them in my, like, but again, this is not me tooting my horn of how great I am at I'm not struggling in combat where I feel like I need to change my build yet. Yeah, I need to upgrade weapons when I can, or this, that, the other, but I've been pouring it into defense.
Like, okay, let's cut all that. Sure. Like, because I feel like you're focusing on the combat still, of like finding the things for the combat. And cool. That's, if you're not vibing with that, that's fine. All of the story beats like that you find in the world, you're exploring and you find the notes from expeditions past and all that stuff. That stuff's so good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like how, but like that seems so Greg. That seems so ridiculously Greg.
Yeah, but when I find it after 5 minutes of being turned around and running back to the start of the fucking place, and I go back the other way, and then I finally find that's where it's like, I can't appreciate it when I'm annoyed by something else in the game. That's my problem, not you.
Yeah. Okay. Casper says, Greg, sometimes it's better to move on and spend time with something you enjoy. You don't have to force it. If you know, you know. But it needs to be said. Much love.
No, thank you for that. And again, that's the whole point of this is like, and why I wanted to do this, while I know it will make people mad at me even more. But it is that idea of like, I don't want it to be that I didn't try. Like, I'm trying to do this because I think, we get to these conversations then, and then I'm quiet on Game of the Year when we got to the top 3 or 5 or whatever, you know what I mean? Because they're not Greg games. But again, I can't force it because it's not working, and it's not. I want to be surprised. I want the turn-based RPG to come through. That's going to be the one that I'm like, oh my god, of course, this is the one that clicks for me. But I think it's interesting when I talk about leading up to this. When I was doing the Hell Is Us demo up in Montreal, I was talking to a friend up there, and she was like, oh yeah, my friend, this guy's been playing this and he loves it. I'm like, I'm not a turn-based. Oh, he's not either. And it's like, well, I don't know what's broken inside me then that I can't find love in these games.
Yeah, I mean, dude, straight up, like, as I'm sure everyone watching this knows, I will not force my way to play through a game if I'm not liking it. And
sure, and again, this is something I've been open about on Greg Way and here and whatever. I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is my responsibility as a video game pundit, critic, whatever you want to call this chucklehead, right, to games? Like, when there's this kind of, like, I'm just trained of, like, there's a game that's the conversation. You play the game so you can have the conversation. And so to get here and be like, I can't make it through this game, then we make our own conversation around it. But I think it's worthwhile so that it's not just, oh, Greg only plays shit games. He loves Starfield. It's like, well, when I did the Greg way about your era in gaming, I was like, my era is Western RPGs. Like, clearly that's where I'm at, where it's like, can't fucking wait for Outer Worlds 2, right? I didn't love Avowed, but I loved Avowed. Like, you know what I mean? I can talk your ear off about all these different systems and this and why I think Outer Worlds 2 is going to be so much better than Outer Worlds 1. It's like, that's where I'm living right now. And again, I totally 1000% understand the other side of this conversation in the car, you're listening to it, or at home watching on the computer, where you're like, I am so fucking bored in a Fallout to go through and pick up another lockpick and another med pack. And I'm like, I get that, but that's what I fucking love of having that built out kit, and I'm doing it, and my choices in the moment are going, and like, but then you get into battles with, and this is me arguing myself, obviously, you get into battles and you're doing the same thing, whether it's an old school one of using VATS or now just shooting down sights or using the same power you've used for 30, and it's like, of course I am, but I'm actively engaging in that moment, and I'm choosing how the battle plays out in a way that I don't feel in a turn-based RPG I do, if that makes sense, where I feel like I'm limited to what I have. And granted, yeah, I have a plethora of different moves to learn and slot in Expedition 33, in Persona, in whatever, but it still isn't as active in the moment that I want to do this and I want to change that. Pokemon is also very much the same, right? You come in with the moves you got, but I feel like I have that laundry list of Pokemon to swap in, swap out, take a hit, no big deal, still get the move done and be on my way again in 30 seconds versus sitting there for 2 minutes and doing something.
Alex J. Sandoval says, tastes change. Don't force yourself through experiences you don't enjoy. What about the South of Midnight route? Put it on easy for story. Regardless, do you? We kind of just addressed that.
Well, no, it's a different thing where I did, when I was like, okay, cool. I don't like the combat here in Expedition, right? This is a turnoff for me. I did drop it to story, hoping I could clown it out. And it goes faster, but you still got to go through. It's really, you're not taking that much damage, which, not toot my own horn here, but just to give myself some credit in there, damage wasn't the problem. It wasn't that I was getting killed all the time. It was just like, all right, I figured it out. Let's kill him faster. And then this is to me of like, I had been putting so much into defense. I wasn't putting it into might. So I went and respect the characters and put it back into might. But even then I wasn't killing him fast enough. South of Midnight, props to them, which I know some people hate, was that, all right, you can walk in now, you can hit start, you can hit a button, everybody's dead. Like, if I could do that in Expedition, yeah, I'd probably I'd give it a shot. All right, let's go.
Well, there's the God mode mod. That's what, like.
But I'm playing on Xbox. I don't know. That seems like too many hoops for Greg Miller, anti-PC gamer, to go figure out.
All right. Kobe Arndt says, this just shows everyone enjoys different types of art, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it's like watching a movie that everyone loves, but you don't click with it, but appreciate, happy you gave it a fair shot. Absolutely. Alex Fraser says, I made the parry window easier, and it fixed the game for me. Then I beat it. Mellow Fellow says, did Greg do the end game? I feel like that's the best part of the game. No, you didn't.
Well, how long is Expedition 2? Because I thought it was 20, and then how long did we put it at 28 hours? I was like, ooh, what do you think?
It was like 24, 5. If you're skipping all the combat, it'll be a lot quicker. Joshua Moreno says, I like the older Pokemon games and abhor all of the Final Fantasies. Clear structure, simple lore, and quick battles. RNG's done in a clear way. Menu diving sucks and should never prevent you from continuing. That's my 2 cents. Ed Reed fan says, Greg, speaking of turn-based games, have you introduced or will you introduce Costume Quest to Ben?
Oh, what a great question. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Costume Quest, another turn-based RPG I do love.
Yeah. And then we talked about this a bit, but Snow13 says, just curious, Greg, what drew you to finish something like the Veilguard but struggle with Final Fantasy 16 or Expedition 33?
Yeah, I mean, Veilguard, I loved across the board. The characters, the story, the combat, the moves, the power set, the world, exploring the world. I mean, you name it. I thought that game was great for it. Again, if you're new around here, I never gave a shit about a Dragon Age before. So many people's problem with Veilguard was it doesn't feel like old Dragon Age. There's this, that. They ruined this character. I didn't know shit about any of that. I just got in there and enjoyed a fun, colorful action RPG.
Jay says, my favorite feeling in Expedition is finding a mechanic from a character and then crafting a unique build around it. I'm not sure if that's Greg's thing. Yeah, I
Never
don't think it
been.
is.
No,
yeah.
that's the whole thing of like, when we play The Division or when we even play Monster Hunter, right? When you get to that, usually, the end game level of any of these multiplayers, that's when it really kicks in of like, what's your build? Fran in his spreadsheets and Google. And I'm like, no, I've enjoyed this and I will do this. And when it gets to a part of a raid where it's like, no, you need to go respec, I'll be like, I am good on that. That's not what I want to do.
Initially, AW says, sorry if this has already been said, but I agree with Greg. Pokemon makes turn-based combat click. I'm a trainer giving commands. In other RPGs, I'm the character, so picking moves feels weird and slow.
That is true.
kinda
I have
interesting.
thought about that and I missed that here. You're right. That does make a lot of sense.
Sierra Whiskey says, sometimes there's no logical explanation to why we just bounce off of games. I played Death Stranding in 22 and bounced off of it, but came back to the beginning of 2025 and fell in love. Yelsing says, you're not wrong. It's a taste thing. It could also be a timing thing. For the past few months, the only thing I could play was Monster Hunter and now Rematch.
Hell yeah.
Thwarted Junk says, Tim, without spoilers, would you consider using the 5th party member in battle to unlock things as almost Pokemon collecting? Absolutely. I actually, to a bunch of my friends, described it that exact way. So, yes. I don't think that'll change Greg's mind whatsoever, though, about this. Although, amazing character.
You're right. That's also something I was thinking about, how I really enjoy collecting Pokemon here. And then in Persona, you're collecting Personas, right? But it's like, that's never been the draw for me with Persona, of getting the Persona. Whereas with Pokemon, I am super stoked when I get a new Pokemon. And then it's like, all right, cool. Am I going to use them? Am I not going to use them? Here's my thing with Pokemon. I wish they didn't evolve. Dude, I start Violet.
Greg,
I
you know
start
what? No,
Violet.
everyone be mean to him, okay? What are you talking about? You wish the goddamn Pokemon wouldn't evolve. What?
They're so cute when they start. I picked fucking Quaxley and I named him Quackers. Adorable duck. Now he's this weird, grown dancing duck. I'm like, I don't like this outfit. Let me transmog him to look like the original one.
Oh my God, everybody.
They should tell me that when I go to pick them, they should give me a mirror. Let me know this is what this thing's going to grow up to look like.
Yeah.
And Pikachu's perfect. I don't want Pikachu to ever grow up.
Well, Greg, this has been cathartic.
It's been fun.
This has been fun. Thank you for being respectful in the chat, and I'm sure in the comments as well. You are the best. And I think it's really cool that we can have fun conversations like this. Let's take fun out of it. Conversations like this that are able to really think about video games and why do we enjoy them? Why don't we enjoy them?
And that's the thing about it. Why, when I pulled you in the conference room, I'm like, we're going to have a cathartic Gamescast tomorrow. And then I had to pitch you on it and sell you on it and talk about it. You're like, oh, man. It's like, I know the internet wants to fight about everything. I know our audience doesn't. And I think that part of games criticism needs to be that the game of the year doesn't work for me and here's why. And it's not me saying it's not game of the year. It's not going to be my game of the year, but who fucking cares what Greg's game of the year? You know what I mean? I love that's what I've always envisioned here and at IGN to be great podcasting and game criticism and yada, yada, yada. So I'm thrilled to be able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, part of the conversation we had yesterday was, and we had a bunch of headlines. We looked at them and we're trying to figure out what is the conversation? What's actually the conversation here? And in fact, I might even want to change it after this to something more akin to why turn-based doesn't work for Greg or something like that. Just because I feel like that is the conversation that we ended up getting to even more than Expedition and Pokemon specifically. Sure. But either way, it still, I think, reflects what we're talking about here. But I was very clear. I was like, I don't want to just have a full episode just be like, I don't like this thing. I just don't like this thing. You know what I mean? Like this thing everyone else likes. Here's a hot take. It's like that is just not constructive or productive for anything involving games criticism or entertainment. Like that was the thing. The word entertainment came up of like, will this be entertainment? Like, will this have value to people watching and listening? And I think that it does. I think that we found the angle to come at this with that isn't just, I'm going to shit on a game.
Yeah, well, I think that's the biggest thing about it when I keep saying, the L thing, but you said you were wrong. And it's like, well, I'm setting it up to let you know. There's a thing here of like, after 18 years of doing this, after 40 some years of playing video games, it's crazy that I'm here and I'm like, I don't have the concrete reason why this doesn't work for me except for this.
Yeah.
And then it gets exciting of what other turn-based RPGs are going to work like this. That's why I'm always going to take the shot. While I'm Sea of Stars, I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it. I'm going to enjoy it. I enjoyed Sea of Stars for what I played. But what is the next? What is the next new turn-based RPG that I'm going to play and I'm actually going to roll credits on?
I'm so interested in what you're going to say about ZA. I'm so interested.
That's why I should review it.
Maybe you should. Well, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being respectful. And thank you so much for being a fan of Kinda Funny and the type of conversations that we have. If you like those.
I look over the chat, blessing. I'm not even hating on vegans, LMAO. What the fuck is going on? What is going on in the YouTube chat?
Oh, I love that. But please stay tuned. We're about to do Superman 4, The Quest for Peace in review. Jesus Christ, it's going to be a good one. So love you. Till next time. Goodbye.
I like Pokemon.